It's time to recap the game that happened, some thoughts that I have on what Caden Salter needs to do, and more. Here on the Prime Time for College Football, a Hog Media production presented by Sleeper. I'm your host, Jay. Thanks for pulling up here on the YouTube channel and listening wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to while you're here. Please wipe your feet, like, subscribe, rate, review, and give us 5 stars. You don't think we deserve it? Go ahead and give us 5 anyway. And gift it. So on today's episode of the Prime Time for College Football podcast, we're going to dive into a few topics from this past weekend. After now, we got some time to settle, like what's up with Pat Shurmer? I know a lot of people want the OC gone, and I might be inclined to believe you. What's up with the defensive line? That run defense was bad, but I think there's some bright spots there. And we'll wrap things up with Caden Salter and what it looks like going forward. So we'll be forward thinking going forward here and talking through that. So thank y'all for pulling up. Check out our partners over at Sleeper, who's our presenting sponsor. Use the promo code PRIMETIME and you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. All right, everybody. Yes. Game 1 is in the books. A lot of you are not happy. I understand, because I wasn't either. Watching the game, it made me ask a lot of questions of what exactly is going on with the Buffs. And so seeing some of the other OGs talk about it, I saw analyst William Gardner talking to Adam Mustatiger over on the Buffs Stampede after the game. And one of the things he pointed out is the Buffs doesn't feel like they have an identity. Like, we don't know who they are. We're still asking the question of what is this Buff squad going to be? Who are they going to be and what they're going to do? And I kind of agree and kind of get it. It did not feel like things were established in that capacity. But what you got at the start of the game was Folsom Field was rocking. I talked about this in my morning after, as well as when I went live right after the game. Stadium was rocking. The fans brought the energy that was needed. The play call, though, did not feel it. So, of course, fans have been losing their minds, and a lot of videos and stuff have been surfacing from the presser. People kind of feeling like Shurmer might be losing things. I don't know. I'm going to play a clip from when Jordan Seaton was there with Caden Salter, and it kind of felt a little quote-unquote shoddy, I guess you could say. I don't know, but we'll kind of get an understanding of that in just a minute. But when I went back and looked and rewatched the game a couple of times, one of the things that I was curious most about in the way this team was working is I want to understand more why we didn't get more from K-Salt on the run game. Prime talked about this also during the post-game presser, and that to me is probably the biggest piece that I was curious about. Why didn't we see more scramble plays? Why didn't we see more things kind of designed for him to run and move around? We did not get a lot of that at all. That to me is probably the biggest miss in this game. Now, I mean, granted, K-Salt did not, he wasn't awful, but he wasn't at the numbers that we would have expected from a guy that came in with, 66 total touchdowns over the last 2 years. You would have expected him to give you a ton more. He gave you 13 carries for 43 yards. Cool. 59 passing yards, swell. But with the talented wide receiver that we saw came in, that Coach Phillips and them had put together, you would have thought that he would have been launching that thing. And that's the crazy part, is that the offensive line was giving this man time. So I went and looked at the time to throw, and Caden Salter was one of the highest over on PFF. Like, he had time to go. And I'm wondering why Shurmer didn't kind of tweak that to make it to where he was kind of designing plays to where he could go leverage that. That's what a lot of fans felt. That's what a lot of fans were thinking. And I agree. when I heard y'all talking about that, because that's kind of what it felt like to me, that Shurmer wasn't putting our guy in the best position to be successful in this game. Scott Proctor had posted this from the Denver Buffs reporter, and he posted this, that DeKalen Taylor, Trackhawk, had 12 snaps in that game. And in that game, 4 touches, 40 yards, which he had like a carry for 2, and then he had 3 catches for 38, which he was really good in the pass game. But you didn't see much more. Now, he did have a drop, and I'm thinking that's what got him pulled out of the backfield, especially if Marshall Faulk is handling those rotations. Like, Michael Welch, to me, was solid. The run game looked a heck of a lot better than I thought. 146 yards rushing in this game. Not bad. 64 yards for Michael Welch at 5.8 yards a carry. Probably want to see a little bit more, but a lot of those yards were picked up on some big gains. Like, he got a 22-yard gain. So, outside of that 22-yard gain, you had 10 carries for 42 yards. 4.2 yards carry. Not bad. You want more out of him, though. You probably want a little bit more of Trackhawk as well, but that touchdown was beautiful. Caden Salter, the offensive line was giving the man some time to really get out there. But it did not feel like Shurmer, it felt like he had the training wheels on Caden Salter. And to me, he's not a player you have training wheels on. You let this dude go out there, dance around all you want. You let him go ball. It felt like training wheels were added to him in this game. While at the same time, I need Caden Salter to throw with more anticipation. We'll talk about him a little bit later in the show, but I see why fans are coming out here with the pitchforks and everything on Shurmer. I get it. I get why there's a lot of concern around Shurmer going forward. I get why there's some pushback on maybe go with Byron Leftwich. Let him call some plays. I don't know about that yet, because I'm not sure what his playbook is going to look like with these players. He wasn't there. He hasn't been there this entire time. Like, I think it was at Media Days in July where Prime said he was hoping that he would do the right thing and pull up. So I don't know if you got that kind of time yet. To me, of course you've got Shurmer. Like, we're being realistic here, but at the same time, Sherman's got to call a better game. It didn't feel like he was putting the players in the most successful spots. Now, all the blame is not on the offense. Let's not get ridiculous here. I'm not going to actually pretend like the offense was the only problem in this game, because we'll talk about Coach Livingston, Coach Sapp, as well as Coach Pecco's D-line here in a minute, because to me, them, Coach Hart and the linebackers, there's a lot of adjustments that's going to need to be done there that I think will be fixed long term. I don't think that Colorado's in trouble. I'm not sounding the alarm on them yet. Georgia Tech's a veteran team. Haynes King's a really good quarterback that does everything he needs to do in his style of play to make it difficult to defend him. So we're not sounding the alarm on that. So we're going to jump in and talk about them here next on what the defense needs to do going forward if we want to see them be successful. But first, the NFL season is here, and which means you can now take a chance to get 100 times your cash on daily fantasy football. This video is powered by our partners over at Sleeper. And with college football being back, football has never been more exciting than it is today with players in the NFL like a C.J. Stroud, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, Justin Jefferson, Shedeur Sanders. Even with your wide receivers out here, is going to have some fun. Travis Hunter should have himself a huge year. And if you want to take advantage of that, you can pick on stats for those star players like touchdowns, passing yards, receiving yards, fantasy points, and more. And you for up to 100 times payout on Sleeper. So get your picks right, and you could win big. And when I say big, 100 times is pretty big. So use our promo code as you see on the screen, Prime Time, and you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details, and know that Sleeper is in a lot of places right now. So check them out. Link in the description below, as well as use our code PRIMETIME to get a $100 deposit match up to $100 on your first deposit. Now, let's dive into this defense, man. I was bothered. Now, I sound super perturbed when I did the post-game video on this game, because I was beyond perturbed, because Colorado gave up 320 yards of rushing in this game. 320 yards of rushing. Last year, can y'all name me a game where Colorado did that? The Buffs balled on defense last year. Like, there was a massive improvement in the way that the Buffs played last year. Like, against Nebraska, gave up about 150. You go to the Colorado State game, 131 rushing. Baylor, you give up 166, right? UCF, which is a running team, and I remember talking about them last year. I remember telling everybody in that game, I was like, I don't think that as much of a running team as UCF is, they're not going to be able to do the running like they want to. And RJ Harvey, who's a Denver Bronco now, so y'all are probably cheering for him, a lot of you there in Colorado, but they held them to under 200 yards, 177, which was way under the average that they played with, right? Like, the bigger thing for Colorado to me last year for the Buffs was really a lot more passing. Like, gave up 185 to Kansas State. Like, I'm going through each one of these games because I think that it's the point behind this is the Buffs were doing a really good job in run defense. 107 on Arizona. Let's look at this Kansas game where I think that's where you started to ask questions of, all right, what's going on here? Kansas was 331. And it felt like whenever a team was running on Colorado like that, heck, Texas Tech, who had Brooks, right? TJ Brooks, and they only ran 413. Like, you could tell that there was a focus on, we're not going to let you beat us on the ground. You're not going to run down our throat. Period. That's not what we're going to allow. This game, it felt like the preparation for stopping that was not there. And to me, this is the game where you should have known you don't want Haynes King to beat you, because that's literally his game. Like, this is how he plays college football. That's what makes him such a good player, right? Not great. I didn't say he was elite or top tier, but that's what makes him so good. Since he got to Georgia Tech, they just like, you know what? You got legs. We're going to use it. 737 in his first year at Georgia Tech, which was his fourth year in college football technically, and then 587 last year, and he got hurt last year. Now this is what he's going back to. Double-digit touchdowns those 2 seasons, and he'll finish this year with double-digit again. But that should have been the focal point. Now, the good thing for Colorado going forward, as we'll look at the schedule after in the last segment when we talk about Caden Salter, so stick around so you can see that. The need to make sure that quarterbacks don't just run all over you will be critical in order to be successful in this conference. Because Haynes King ain't going to be the only one you're going to see that's going to be moving like that. Like, we're going to go through each one of them to wrap up things. But that's where the defense needs to get better. That defensive line, even though overall they did not grade too bad. Like, I'm going to say too bad because it wasn't too bad. But not as high as it should have been. The linebackers, to me, and I think this is what Coach Hart's going to have to really evaluate things here with them, and Coach Livingston's going to have to figure out how to shadow this is, the focal point to me should have been hitting Haynes King. Hitting him no matter what. Like, he's going to pump fake like he's going to throw it. Cool. Hit him. That is the dude that you have to, and this is no knock on the players, so don't please take it as that, but you've got to lock down and hit that dude regardless. That's where you got to discipline yourself down and boom, go for him. And it's okay. Do I think that this game is a determining factor for the season for the Buffs? I do not. Because I think the Buffs can bounce back 100% from this, and I don't think it'll be that hard for them to do when they go up against, starting with Delaware and moving on into Houston, et cetera, so on and so forth. Their season's not over. Let's put it that way. Week 1 gets you an idea of what you need to do. The question is what the adjustment's going to look like. My expectations, Caden Salter better show out. He will show up against Delaware. I don't think that's going to be a problem. The Houston game is going to be critical because it's on the road. That Friday night game is going to be huge. And if he goes out there and he plays the way that we expect K-Salt to play, the as Prime mentioned, that's going to be big. The defense is going to be the most important part of that game, though. Because Houston, they won their game 27-0. Connor Weigman likes to run. He'll scramble his butt off when he was healthy. He had some health issues over his career at Texas A&M. That was his biggest problem. But he'll scramble on your butt. Now, he's not going to run like Haynes King whatsoever. No, but he'll move. But he can also throw well. You're going to have to stop that veteran and go right at him. Like in that game, he's 6 carries, 39 yards. So not a lot in the first game of the season, but Willie Fritz has got something he's cooking over there. A ton of transfers came in. So he's won. A lot of watching is going to have to happen in this game. Now, I don't know if Dean Connors is going to be a dude that's just going to dominate. But as you go down this schedule, there's going to be a lot of teams you're going to be facing that's going to run the ball. There's going to be willing runners. And to me, that's where the Buffs are going to need to make sure that they adjust their attack and go right for them. So let me know what y'all think. Hop in the comments. Want to hear your thoughts. All right, let's talk about K-Salt and its final schedule, what the schedule looks like going forward, and how I think the Buffs can redeem themselves. But first, the NFL season is here, and which means you can now take a chance to get 100 times your cash on daily fantasy football. This video is powered by our partners over at Sleeper. And with college football being back, football has never been more exciting than it is today with players in the NFL like a C.J. Stroud, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, Justin Jefferson, Shedeur Sanders. Even with your wide receivers out here is going to have some fun. Travis Hunter should have himself a huge year. And if you want to take advantage of that, you can pick on stats for those star players like touchdowns, passing yards, receiving yards, fantasy points, and more, and you can for up to 100 times payout on Sleeper. So get your picks right, and you could win big. And when I say big, 100 times is pretty big. So use our promo code as you see on the screen, Prime Time, and you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details, and know that Sleeper is in a lot of places right now. So check them out. Link in the description below, as well as use our code PRIMETIME to get a $100 deposit match up to $100 on your first deposit. So the Buffs got some stuff to work on in this game coming up this weekend. Caden Salter's the number one. Now, this game is not going to tell you a lot. I'm just going to say that out loud now. It's not going to tell you a whole bunch, but this is the get in a groove game. This is the game where Salter and the wide receivers will be able to get on to the page that they want to be on, and they can go out there and actually show what they can be. So this is my expectation for them is I think that a combination of K-Salt and Juju should play in this game, and we should see K-Salt put on some yards on the ground. Because to me, that's the one thing that you expect from a player of his caliber is seeing him run like crazy. That's what Caden Salter's here for. And like I said, Prime talked about that at the beginning, and I'm going to keep emphasizing that because I want y'all to understand that's literally the reason why I said you start him. I want a dude that's going to go out there and not have the fear and go out there and run like crazy. Now, of course, you hope that, the bounce back is just as big as the expectations were this season, and I think it will. But man, we gotta see K-Salt give us some of the game. Now, when I went and looked at a lot of his throws and like I said, I went and looked. I looked at the throws. I went and looked at the blocking in this game. Blocking grades were pretty solid. Jordan Seaton come out here with one of the highest pass blocking grades on PFF at an 89.5. What that tells you, that's NFL caliber. He had a really good game. Like a really good game on the pass blocking. Him and Zylon Chrysler, they were eating on the blocking. Kareem Harden was good. Michael Wells. So basically, I mean, McGill needs to improve a little bit on there. There was moments where when the block would come in, they would kind of shed him, and then Salter would have to move. But again, Caden Salter is a dude that is a dual threat. So the expectation is for him to do more. Michael Welch even did really good with blocking. Now, he's a big dude, too. Like, he's got some size. So we kind of expected Welch to be able to go out there and, wow, hit somebody nicely. I need him to get a little bit on the I need them to leverage that a little bit more. But I also need more track hawk to where he can get out there. He didn't pass block at all. He just got out there and caught 3 passes. He was out there really going into flats, but you can't drop him. That's kind of the thing that you run into. And I guess for me, my question is with K-Salt, who does he trust at wide receiver? Who was the guys that he felt like he trusts the most? You go in here, I looked at the wide receiver grades. It did not feel like he trusted the receivers that much. Atkins had 2 targets, 2 catches, 18 yards. Hakeem Williams eventually got a little something, but he threw it to more running backs than he did wide receivers in this game, right? The targets, when I look at them, Draylon Miller led the team in targets. He had 6. We only ended up with 2 catches, 13 yards. And then he had a drop. Well, they credit him with the drop. But we got to get more passes toward Sincere. You got to get more passes to Joseph Williams. You had a solid amount. Let's put it that way. But you probably want to throw more to them. And I think K-Salt will figure that out. It's just going to be about timing. That's going to be the critical part, is how does he fix the timing with these guys? And coming up, he's got some challenges with that. Let me show you what I mean. When we look at the schedule here, TCU plays this evening. So whenever you're watching this, This goes live 5 o'clock Mountain. So TCU and North Carolina will be playing. So we'll talk about them, what that means for the Buffs in that game and what that means for them later this season. But they don't play until October. So we'll have a few games to kind of build up with that. We'll look at some of the games that the opposition played and what that means. But that Delaware game is going to be the game that Colorado's going to have to use as a, like I said, it's going to be a game to use to get in sync. Because when you travel to Houston, it's going to be big. Wyoming should be a win, but they have a tendency of being a challenge. I've seen them play other teams. I remember seeing them play against Texas. I've seen them play against a few. I've seen them play teams tough. Now, they don't ever typically win it, but they play teams tough. Now, granted, they beat Akron 10-0. That's not the best, but they ran the ball. So they're starting running back Sam Scott, 29 carries for 132 yards. So when you get through these four, and then BYU, which I'm really curious what BYU's actually going to be this year. Like, what are they going to turn into without Retzlaff at quarterback? That was, and the good thing is that's a night game, so it's going to be should be a great atmosphere. Great atmosphere for everybody, but they destroyed Portland State 69-0. They are starting a true freshman at quarterback, so you got questions, but he didn't really do much. It was more so pitch and catch the entire time. They're going to run the ball a lot because they got a true freshman quarterback. They're going to run the ball a lot. So we have to have the expectation that the run defense is going to be better. So to me, these next 5 games, this is chemistry building, especially for Delaware and Wyoming. Houston's going to be a little bit of a challenge. I don't think they're going to be that great, but it'll be a challenge. But I really want to see how this team should walk into this BYU game at 3-1. And since BYU's at the crib, they should be able to pull off the W and make something happen. I just want to know what things are going to look like with Pat Shurmer calling these plays. I don't know. Y'all tell me what y'all think. Hop in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. All right. We'll appreciate y'all pulling up with us. We'll have the podcast coming out at least twice a week. We will dive into what we think the team needs to look like against Delaware. I'm going to hit up a guest and see if we can get him on to talk about this. So make sure you hit the like, subscribe, as well as the bell notification so that you don't miss any of the videos. Let me get with my boy Duke, see if I can get something with him tomorrow or sometime this week to talk what we need to do going forward. But I do not believe that the Buffs are done. I think the Buffs got just enough to get themselves going forward. So don't stress out, Buffs fans. It ain't over. The world ain't going to come to an end. It'll be just fine. So we appreciate it. And make sure you check out Sleeper. Use our promo code PRIMETIME for a match of $100. Up to $100. Terms do apply, but check them out. Get you hooked up as they are the presenting sponsor of the channel. And we'll talk soon.